It was a dark and stormy night when Detective John received a call about a break-in at the local art museum. He rushed to the scene, only to find that the thief had made off with a priceless painting by a renowned artist. As he surveyed the crime scene, John noticed something strange. There were no signs of forced entry, and the alarm system had not been triggered. It was as if the thief had simply walked in and taken the painting without anyone noticing. Determined to solve the case, John began to investigate. He spoke to the museum's security guards and discovered that they had all been on duty at the time of the theft. None of them had seen anything suspicious. But as John dug deeper, he started to uncover some strange inconsistencies. One guard had a criminal record for theft, and another had recently been fired from his job for embezzlement. Could they have been involved in the theft? As John continued his investigation, he received a call from the thief himself. The man claimed to have the painting and demanded a ransom in exchange for its safe return. John knew that he had to act fast to catch the thief and recover the stolen artwork. With the help of his partner, Detective Jane Davis, John began to piece together the clues. They discovered that the thief was a former employee of the museum who had been fired for stealing from the gift shop. He had used his knowledge of the security system to bypass the alarm and steal the painting. John and Jane set up a sting operation to catch the thief in the act. They arranged to meet him at a deserted warehouse on the outskirts of town, where he had agreed to hand over the painting in exchange for the ransom money. As they waited in the shadows, John and Jane saw the thief arrive with the painting. They sprang into action and apprehended him, recovering the artwork in the process. As the thief was led away in handcuffs, John couldn't help but wonder what had driven him to commit such a brazen crime. Was it greed, desperation, or something else entirely? As the storm finally began to clear, John knew that he had solved the case and brought the thief to justice. But the memory of the crime would linger in his mind for a long time to come, a reminder of the darkness that could lurk beneath even the most seemingly peaceful places. A few days later, John was called into the office of the museum's director. She thanked him for his hard work in solving the case and told him that the painting would soon be returned to its rightful place in the museum's collection. But John couldn't shake the feeling that something was still off about the whole situation. He couldn't help but wonder why the thief had risked so much for a single painting. Was it really just about the money? One night, as John was walking home from the station, he saw a figure lurking in the shadows. He recognized the man immediately as the thief he had caught a few days before. But before John could confront him, the man disappeared into the darkness. From that moment on, John was consumed with a desire to uncover the true motive behind the theft. He started digging into the thief's past, poring over old police reports and interviewing his acquaintances. Eventually, John discovered that the thief had been hired by a wealthy collector to steal the painting. The collector had been a fan of the artist for years and had always dreamed of owning one of his works. But the painting in question had been donated to the museum by the artist himself, and the collector had been unable to purchase it. Determined to have the painting at any cost, the collector had hired the thief to steal it. And when the theft had gone wrong, he had paid the ransom to get it back. John was shocked by what he had uncovered. He had always known that art theft was a lucrative business, but he had never imagined that it could be driven by such obsession and greed. With the help of his partner Jane, John set out to bring the collector to justice. They confronted him at his mansion on the outskirts of town, armed with evidence of his involvement in the theft. The collector denied everything at first, but when confronted with the evidence, he broke down and confessed to his crime. He was arrested and charged with theft, and the painting was returned to the museum. In the weeks that followed, John found himself haunted by the case. He couldn't help but wonder how many other people were out there, driven by the same kind of obsession and greed. He realized that the world of art crime was much darker and more complex than he had ever imagined. But despite the darkness, John felt a sense of satisfaction in knowing that he had helped to bring the thief and the collector to justice. And as he walked the streets of the city at night, he felt a renewed sense of purpose in his work as a detective. He knew that there would always be criminals out there, but he was determined to do his part to keep them in check. As time went on, John began to think about the meaning of art and how it can drive people to do strange and sometimes dangerous things. He realized that to some, art was more than just a beautiful object, but rather a representation of their innermost desires and obsessions. He found himself drawn to the museum, spending his off-duty hours there, staring at the paintings and wondering what secrets they held. He started reading books on art history and visiting galleries across the city, trying to understand more about the world that had driven the thief and collector to such extreme measures. One day, while at the museum, John was approached by a young woman who worked in the gift shop. She told him that she had overheard some strange conversations among the museum staff, and she thought they might be planning another heist. John was initially skeptical, but he decided to investigate further. He spent the next few weeks monitoring the museum's security system and observing the staff's behavior. He began to notice that some of them were behaving strangely, sneaking around after hours and making furtive phone calls. Finally, John caught one of the employees in the act of stealing a painting. He arrested the thief and discovered that the employee had been working with a group of art thieves who had been targeting museums across the city. With the help of the information provided by the thief, John and his team were able to track down the rest of the gang and arrest them. They had been stealing paintings and selling them on the black market for years, amassing a fortune in the process. As John reflected on the case, he realized that he had come a long way since the night of the break-in at the museum. He had learned a great deal about the world of art crime and had helped to bring down a major criminal operation. But more than that, he had come to appreciate the true value of art, not just as a beautiful object, but as a representation of the human spirit. And he knew that he would never look at a painting the same way again. Thanks for watching. Like and sub for more.